Micro, small, and medium enterprises in India are the engines of growth for the economy. The 63 million unit strong sector is responsible for 111 million jobs in the country and account for nearly 29% of India's GDP. That being said, the sector is plagued by financial constraints owing to poor cash flow management and the lack of timely access to credit. MSMEs at present operate in adverse business conditions. How can we make things better, and what is the outlook for the future? As a part of ET Rise Top MSMEs ranking program, and to get a better picture about the credit for MSMEs in India, we have with us today Amit Bhatia, Managing Director, Head PCB Deutsche Bank India. Amit, good to have you here.
Always a pleasure.
Great. So
thank you for having me here.
Our pleasure as well. So let's go straight to the questions. Let's start with your bank. How important is the MSME segment for your bank in India, and what are the initiatives or services your bank has for small businesses?
So, just to give you a sense of how important it is. So, like you said, I head the International Private Bank for Deutsche Bank in India, and as part of that division, we cater to three segments, which is the private, wealth, and the business banking segment. And business banking is nothing but the commercial segment that we are talking about, which caters to the MSME business. So 60% of our balance sheet, is to the MSME sector. That is how important it is as far as my business for Deutsche Bank in India is concerned. We were an early starter as far as this business is concerned. In 2005, when we started our retail and consumer banking business in India, over a period of time, we realized that, which was about 3-4 years after that, that this is a niche segment which is underpenetrated, right? This is a segment that we know very well because of our, background, Deutsche Bank's background in Germany. You're all aware, Germany has the highest number of Mittelstand, like what they call the small and medium enterprises in Germany. And being the largest bank there, we are the largest providers of credit, largest provider of services to all the German Mittelstand companies there. So we come with that background. It's in our DNA. Over a period of time, we've done enough and more in terms of, our product proposition, in terms of the services that we provide to them, whether it is for their employees, whether it is on the credit side, whether it is on the transactional banking side, whether it is from a trade, FX, and cash management perspective. So we've got, the entire gamut of services and products which are available as far as this sector is concerned. And from our perspective, like I mentioned, even in India, this remains one of the very important segments that we cater to.
Right. So, we all know that MSME suffers from a large funding gap in the sector. IFC says, the total debt demand for MSMEs can be anywhere in the range of 69.31 lakh crore, of which only, 16% is formally financed. How can we address this, given that the gap only seems to be increasing?
So, let me just answer this in a slightly different way. Look, why did we come to this position, right? Typically, because if you look at it from an MSME perspective, they lacked scale, they lacked size, there was lack of infrastructure for them to grow, right? Obviously, you mentioned the right thing, inadequate access to credit and financial instruments. These are some things that over a period of time in the last 2-3 years, especially after the sterilization of cash economy that has happened, which is post the GST, introduction of GST and post demonetization, right? There has been rapid sterilization as far as cash economy is concerned. That has immensely helped, for banks, because from a bank perspective, the issue was, from a, you didn't have enough data points, for providing credit to this sector, because there was an issue of disclosure, there was an issue of diversification, right? Very small SMEs used to diversify into completely different businesses than what their core strength was in, right? And there was the problem of diversion, diversion of funds, because typically small businesses, promoters' money or the owner's money and the, business, they were all interrelated, right? And, it was very difficult for banks to take that decision in terms of, how much credit to provide, whether it was adequate, what financial instruments were good enough for the customers, to grow, and so on and so forth. So over a period of time, if you see in the last 3-4 years, the government has also taken a lot of steps, in terms of either providing the e-marketplaces, right? E-commerce has been a very good, even the private sector players like Amazon, Flipkart, and so on and so forth. Even the government has, provided a couple of platforms like Trade, etc., where you can do bill discounting, supplier chain finance, and so on and so forth. And similarly, the government's public procurement policy, where a certain amount of certain percentages of procurement that the government will do will be from this sector. This is something that has given even the MSMEs new markets, right? Similarly, from a bank perspective, the introduction of IBC, and even from an MSME perspective, look, for them also, like I said, apart from lack of infrastructure and lack of, size and scale, it was lack of ability to exit capital also, right? With, IBC framework coming into the picture, right? There is a honorable exit which is also available, right, for MSMEs, right, to, exit a business that is probably not doing well or probably is lagging behind competition and so on and so forth. And then, probably get into some other business which will probably make more sense as far as, that particular promoter or that particular time period is concerned. So there are a lot of, things that have happened. Similarly, with the coming of IBC, a lot of willful defaulters are being frozen out. So it's giving banks and the lenders, that much more confidence to go into this sector and lend, right? I think, whatever this gap is, I'm sure it's not going to, get filled in the next year or two. But, the right journey has started towards filling this gap. And, the government has also realized that, this is a very, very important sector as far as, this country is concerned. You've already mentioned some data points as far as MSMEs are concerned. But look at it from a different aspect altogether. If a big corporate was to invest 1,000 crores, greenfield project or a whitefield, project as far as they are concerned, they'll probably employ 1,000 people, more people, right? But if an MSME, MSMEs together, hundreds of MSMEs were to invest about 1,000 crores, I think you will end up generating about 10 million or maybe more employment opportunities, right? So it is very, very important as far as India's demographics are also concerned. So I think, from my perspective, we've been in this field for the last 10 years. We've been very aggressive as far as this field is concerned, right? This segment is concerned. We know how to operate in this segment. We have all the risk management tools which are required, and now, like I said, with credit bureaus, rating agencies, and so on and so forth, right? I think there are many tools available, for this sector to work. So, at least from my perspective, this journey has started.
Right. So, as a lender, as a banker, what are your top challenges that you face currently, and what do you think can be some of the solutions for that?
So, from an MSME perspective?
Yes, from an MSME.
So, Pran, at the cost of repeating, like I said, from an earlier perspective, earlier times, the issues were diversion, disclosure, diversification. The exit was a little difficult as far as bankers and lenders were concerned, and of course, you didn't have too much of data points. On the commercial side, you may have had good amount of data, right? And good amount of knowledge, from an individual perspective, but from a, company perspective, from a unit perspective, that was not very forthcoming. Disclosures were not, compliance was an issue, right? But now, like I said, we are moving from the unorganized to organized, from cash to digital and, non-cash economy, right? We are moving to, more compliance, there is GST, there is more tax compliance as far as companies are concerned. The ones who were little or very short on this piece, I think they've been left behind. The good MSMEs, they are still there. They are, of course, the pandemic hit them hard, right? But, they've survived this. They will survive, for the next many, many years and decades also. And I think it's made life that much easier for banks now to, assess, the requirement of adequate credit, as well as the, requirement of which financial instruments actually, right, are, good from a particular MSME perspective. So I think, with so much of disclosures, which are available, so much of data point which is available through credit bureaus, through rating agencies, right? I think more or less, these issues which used to be there for the last 10, 15 years and beyond, I think they are getting addressed pretty quickly now.
Right. Do you think, the recent announcement on account aggregators, would that also make a difference?
So early days right now, but I think, you will have better access to cash flows. And I think it's a very, very important step. I think it will take some time, for everybody to come on that platform, including the companies, the commercial organizations as well, right? And of course, bankers, all banks and lending institutions. But I think it's the right step forward, because at the end of the day, what is it that the lender or a banker looks forward to? It is easy access to cash flow information, right? And that is something that the account aggregation will, have a major impact on. It's a very, very important risk management tool, right? So once you know, that you've got, enough data which is available from a risk management perspective, it will not only, allow banks to lend more to this sector, but also, the cost of finance for this segment will come down. Because you will price that much more less for risk.
True. Right.
So I think that's a step in the right direction.
Right. So the government also, recently changed the definition of MSMEs, made it more inclusive, and now, we have retail and wholesale trade also as a part of MSMEs. What do these changes mean to your lending business?
So again, one of very important changes that the regulator has made, and I think very timely changes. This has just come post the pandemic, right? These were also small, organizations which were struggling. There was a cash flow problem in the last 6 to 12 months because of the pandemic, right? What it does from a bank's perspective is that it gives us that much more leeway. We were already lending to this segment, whether it was traders, whether it was small shopkeepers, and so on and so forth. Banks and NBFCs were always lending to this segment. What it does is that, once they come under the priority sector lending norms, right, a lot of guarantee schemes, a lot of other, openings will open up as far as this segment is concerned. It'll reduce the cost of funding for this, for the sector overall, right? It'll increase compliance from an overall MSME perspective, right? Which will again, lead to good risk management as far as banks are concerned, right? It lead to more data, lead to more, lending to this sector. And, typically what was happening was that most of the lending institutions were originating and selling, right? Especially the NBFCs, right? Now, with quarterly targets of PSL, and plus this segment getting added into the MSME, overall definition of MSME, most of the lenders, including banks, will originate and hold, right? Which is very important, right? So, first loss risk lies with the bank or the lending institution. And therefore, you will take that much more, you will use that much more knowledge, more precautions, in terms of doing business in this segment, which will reduce, the overall cost of, the operating cost as far as this business is.
So, this is, I think, a question which everyone's trying to wrap their heads around. What has been the impact of the pandemic, especially for, your lending business?
So, Pran, to be frank, it has had an impact, right? Especially the last, if you leave the last quarter, prior to that, when the second wave hit, right? And obviously during the first wave, when there was an entire lockdown for about 2-3 months and all that, there was a hit to the business, and this is across the industry. From an MSME perspective also, if you look at it from their perspective also, they run on 3 to 6 months of cash flows, right? And if they were, they were highly impacted by this as well. The weaker ones, probably shuttered as well, right? Some of the weaker ones. The stronger ones, they've kind of managed to, hold fort. But having said that, two things are very important. One of them is from a government side, like I said, they've been doing a lot of things, the regulator and the government both, in the last 3 to 4 years, right? They've realized the importance of this segment from an export perspective, from a GDP perspective, from an employment generation perspective, that this is very, very important from an India economic point of view. They took a lot of steps, like they came up with the credit guarantee scheme, of 300,000 crores. They came up with the capital guarantee scheme, right? And so on and so forth. So a total overall sum of about 400,000 crores, which was given without any collateral. So I think a lot of measures that the government has taken, as far as this pandemic is concerned, has been responsible to keep them afloat, right? That is one part. The other part is, if you see, especially the last 2-3 months, and especially, the strong festive season that we've seen. There are reports, from the Confederation of Indian Traders. I don't know how much, whether it is completely true or not. This has been the best, festive season in the last 5 years. Even if you leave that aside for the moment, you take all the key economic indicators, the KPIs, whether it is GST collection, whether it is e-way bills, you will always have, 1 month going down, 1 month going up, at least. But, from a last 4 to 5 months perspective, at least all the indicators are very encouraging. So if we don't see, a third wave, I think, there are green shoots which are available. Of course, some of the, within this segment, some of the industries are still coming up, right? There are supply chain issues which are there, which most of the corporates and the governments are trying to, tackle this situation. But I think from a demand perspective, at least, this is what I hear, this is what I see, from the marketplaces and so on and so forth. On the back of this strong festive season, I think we are in a good position as of now.
Right.
Hopefully, fingers crossed, no third wave, probably. And you've seen, most of the rating agencies, even RBI, everybody's saying that India should, financial year 22, we should grow at about 9.5%, somewhere in that range, and probably the fastest growing economy in the world. So though all those numbers are quite heartening to see. So yes, they did go through a problem, but now most of them are out of it. some industries are still struggling, but there are measures that are being taken to for those particular industries as well. From a banking perspective, again, what we see in the last 3 months now is that from a lending perspective and a transactional perspective, we are almost back to pre-pandemic levels, right? Similarly, from a collection perspective also, most of the industry is now again back to, if you see the flows there, you're again back to 96, 97, 98% resolution rates, which used to be pre-pandemic. So I think right now, it's a comfortable space that we are in. We are seeing demand also from our clients. We are seeing from a risk management perspective also things have, quickly turned around. So, from an industry perspective, I think we are good to go. And, we are all keeping our fingers crossed. If there is no third wave, we get into, financial year 2023 with, very good momentum and very good traction behind us.
Right. One question that has been asked lately is there are specific schemes for MSMEs, some like CGT, MSE. Have these schemes achieved their intended results? And do we need to tweak these, especially since we're in the midst of a pandemic or we're just coming out of one?
Well, of course, it's a dynamic world. You need to keep looking ahead. You have to keep reviewing, what schemes are there, right? And I think, the quasi-government companies, they are doing it from time to time, right? Even the regulator is quite supportive as far as those schemes are concerned. If you ask me, and we've been a great votary of this scheme, the CGT MSE scheme that you mentioned, right? I think what they were intended for in the last 5 years, from a Deutsche perspective and me personally, I feel, especially for the small enterprises, right? They've done a world of good, right? Most of the public sector banks, foreign banks, private sector banks, even, about 3 years ago, they allowed the NBFCs also to use those schemes. I think, they've been spread far and wide, and many small industries have, gained advantage from that. Obviously, coming back to your question, and a very pertinent one, from time to time you have to review because, situation changes now, like you mentioned, there was a pandemic, can we be a little more fluid as far as, some parameters are concerned and so on and so forth. So as banks, we keep giving them, feedback, right? And I can tell you from my experience, right, having run this program within this organization, they are quite keen to listen to feedback, and they've made changes in the last 5-7 years, right? They've made adequate changes which they feel, are right in terms of, reaching out to more deserving, small enterprises. And I think, this is going to be the mandate going forward also, right? Even now, post the pandemic, we've, some of us have got together, some of the banks, and we've given them some suggestions, how those can be tweaked so that, we can probably go deeper as far as, the small industries are concerned. And they're willing to listen. And, whether they have, achieved the objective that they were intended for, the answer is again, it's a dynamic piece. Objectives also keep changing. And you have certain situations, right? The objective changes to, to manage those situations and so on and so forth. And as long as you're amenable to, listen to feedback and make the requisite changes, I think the and the intentions are correct, the objectives are met.
Right. So you spoke about, the cost of credit as well. What do you think will be the role of technology from now onwards in getting the cost of credit down?
See, typically, depending on how efficient you are and, which bank it is, and what is the underlying, typically the operating cost for banks are about 1.5 to 2.5%. Like I said, depending on which bank you are, to ANR and so on and so forth. Two things that this rapid digitalization and enhancement in technology and the platforms, and even like you see the eKYC, the India stack, which has been built by the government, right, and the quasi government organizations, which are now on those platforms. Obviously two things happen. One of them is, that your cost of credit goes down, right? Because you have that much more data to take decisions, right? You have those many risk management tools, right? Which enhance your decision-making ability, right? Because you've got so much of data from various sources, right? Which you can, and in real time. So reduces the cost of risk. And obviously, now with, banks creating a very, very strong platform with APIs, and then, linking it with the India stack, with the eKYC mandate, with like these government, like the income tax department, ROC, and so on, and, with rating agencies, right? Almost all data is real time now.
The central bank is also very bullish on co-origination with NBFCs. What are your views on that?
So, Paul, I think that's a good move. There are two advantages to it. First and foremost, from a NBFC perspective, they are quite fleet-footed. They are quite nimble. They can spread very quickly. So you can quickly, target and acquire, different geographies and so on and so forth, right? Similarly, their, adoption of technology is far, like I said, nimble, right? Far faster. And it's not because banks don't want to do it, but banks also have legacy systems, right? But from a bank perspective, right, I think we have much better access to capital. We have much better access to deposits, right? We know risk management far better than, NBFCs and fintechs, right? And similarly, we know the rules and regulations, because we've been governed for, decades. We know, what are controls, what are the, perimeter that we have to operate in, right? And, we are kind of, we come from that background, which knows very clearly that the line belongs to the umpire, right? And in this case, regulator. So I think combining the two will make a lot of sense, right? We can use, their technology adoption and digital as well as physical footprint. And obviously they can use our strength in terms of, capital and deposits, and controls and governance, right, from a regulatory perspective. I think that's a very, very good move. Early days right now, but you can see a lot of activity which is happening there. Typically also very, very important, because leave the pandemic for the time being, over time, because from a lending perspective, the horizon is slightly longer, right? So you'll have economic cycles, you'll have upheavals, you'll have, good times, you'll have economic activity shooting through the roof and then coming down and so on and so forth, right? At least, like I said, if they can be faster, more nimble, right, they can bring the cost of operating costs down, right? But at least, banks will bring in stability with them, right? Because you saw many of them, apart from a few big ones, were struggling during the pandemic, right? And even prior to the pandemic, about 6 to 8 months even prior to the pandemic. I think it's a good move. I think you can add, the strengths.
Best of both worlds.
Best of both worlds, and probably reach out to, far larger set of customers.
Right. So last question, you did touch upon it, but a little bit again, crystal ball gazing. Few months, a month left now for this year to end, and what does the outlook look like for FY next year? And how do you see the economy progressing? Do you think the worst is behind us?
So at least what the last 2 months and the strong festive season that we've seen, I feel the worst is behind us, right? Like I said, and I've spoken to my counterparts in many banks, everybody is seeing a very, very strong third quarter, right? And now, start to almost midway through the fourth quarter also. I think in terms of business, most of us are, almost at pre-pandemic levels now. Similarly, from an economic front also, green shoots are right there for everybody to see. All economic indicators are leading to a good, sharp recovery. Only thing, like I mentioned, fingers crossed, if there is no third wave, we enter the next calendar year, on a very, very strong footing.
Great. I think on that optimistic note, we will end the discussion here. Thank you so much, Amit, for talking to us. It was great picking your views on various issues regarding MSME lending. So thank you once again for joining us.
Thank you, Pran. Thank you for having me on ET Guys. Thanks very much.
Thank you.